What do you do when you get the wrong woman pregnant? This is the topic for today's video. To really break this down, I have a very interesting email which I'm going to read and share with all of you. And it details how this particular subscriber went through exactly that. And in his experience, you are going to see how he rushed the relationship, got involved with the wrong girl, got her pregnant, and then he comes to find out that she's been cheating on him, which puts him in a very difficult situation. Because on one hand, he mentions how he does not want his unborn son or daughter to grow up in a single-parent household. But on the flip side, he knows if he were to stay and marry her, he will never trust her. What do you do in this situation? These are some of the consequences of leading with your lust, having poor self-control, and lowering your standards. This is the price you pay. So men, be very careful. And as I say all the time, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose, so be mindful. But remember, amidst the chaos, there is always opportunity. There is always a way out. And if you do things in a righteous, honorable manner, you can still have a great life. So let's see what we can do for Jimmy over here. And yes, I'm going to keep his name private and refer to him as Jimmy. So he writes in and he says, "Dear Christian, I'm really devastated. My story is one that you will definitely take interest in because you just have to. I migrated to France from Nigeria November 2019, and I met a lady December the 23rd, 2019 on a dating app. And we met in person on the 5th of January 2020. Immediately we fell for each other, and from then the relationship started. 1 month later, I had accommodation issues because I was living with my brother and his wife was becoming unwelcoming. I told her about it and that I needed to find a place in 2 months. So she said I could stay with her until then. Big mistake. You never move in with a woman until you're married or unless you are engaged and planning on getting married. And that decision is one you should only make after spending a minimum of 3 to 4 years together. Because by then, the limerence would have faded, you've seen her for who she is, you've given her a proper background check, you can determine if you were both truly compatible, you've been through the ups and downs, highs and lows, so you can make a smart choice in regards to a commitment. Because when you first meet a woman, the first couple of weeks, the first few months, even the first year or so, that's limerence fueled. Many men and women lead with their emotions, their lust, their sexual desire. What if she's lonely? What if she's insecure? What if she's using you? You're going to be blinded to these things at the beginning because you're so focused on how good it feels, the newness of it. But you don't know what you don't know. Rushing into things never ends well. So here he is telling this girl, well, I need to find a place to stay, so temporarily I'll move in with you. However, plans grew, we found ourselves talking of kids and future together, and then we shelved the idea of moving out and replaced it with starting a future together, including having a kid. So it's only been a few months, right? And you're already talking about having a family. While there's nothing wrong with you sitting down with her and communicating that it is important for you that one day in the future you would like to have a family and be a father, and for her to also sit down and tell you the same, great, you're both compatible, because you can't compromise on that. If you want children and she doesn't, there can be no compromise. It's better off you end the relationship, you find someone that wants children in the future, and she finds someone who doesn't. You can have that conversation, but that's it. And then you save the rest, and after you spend enough time together, to then where you can actually sit down and discuss things in a more detailed manner, after you've really built the emotional bond. And you've both determined you're a good match for each other. But sitting down in the first couple of months and deciding you're having children right now, that's a problem, because that conversation is out of limerence, not out of love. August the 1st, 2020, we both decided to have a kid. And she stopped taking contraceptives. All kept going well, and then on February the 14th, on Valentine's Day, 2021, she found out she was pregnant. She was so happy, and I was too. March 2021, I lost my job, and she lost the baby via miscarriage. That is actually terrible, so I'm sorry about that. This was a real bad time and tough time for both of us. This is supposed to be a test of our love for each other. Please know, all of this is happening while I apply for asylum in France and was waiting on the judgment call. 1 month later, specifically April the 19th, 2021, on Monday, she came back from work and said she wanted to end the relationship. She stated the reason as that my situation was due to how my situation was getting, and since I stayed in France because she convinced me to, after my first asylum application had failed. So he said, I must note that my first application failed, so I had to recontest it in court. She wanted me to be free to stay or return to Nigeria, but not because of her. I logically debunked that, as the date for the second hearing was still forthcoming, and stated that I can secure another job, and immediately she dropped the undebatable line of, I don't love you anymore. At this point, I knew that was it. I accepted. But deep down, I know I have not given her much attention since losing my job, so I really felt I had a part to play in the loss of attraction. I tried to appeal to her, but she became cold, so I left. 1 week later, I returned to move my things out. I want to break this down before I continue because there are some very important things that he's mentioned. So, 2021, in February, you get her pregnant. Okay? In March, she loses the baby via miscarriage and you lose your job. Now, one thing that Jimmy mentioned is how this should be a test for their love. If they can push through a difficult situation, it's a good sign. Absolutely. Now, a month later in April, she walks in and says, we need to end the relationship because your situation is getting very difficult. Why? Obviously, he's a foreigner, he's from Nigeria, he's moving to France, he's attempting to get his citizenship, his first application got rejected, but he's applying for a second one. And instead of her supporting him, the man that would be the father of her unborn son or daughter, instead of her being by his side and being patient and doing everything in her power to encourage him, instead she says, this may or may not work out because of your situation, and that you should feel free to come and go to Nigeria if you want to. Don't stay here because of me. What does that say about her? If she really cared about this Jimmy and was with him for the right reasons, to truly have a family, to truly love him and care for him, she would have been patient. She wouldn't have said or done those things. But instead, this lets you know that she's using him, that she in fact only sees him as nothing more than just a provider, and she would have had that son or daughter with him out of security, not because she really wants a family with him. And there is one thing that Jimmy mentioned which is an indicator that he does not understand women. He mentions how he feels that he had a part to play in the loss of attraction because he was not giving her much attention since losing his job. How is that your fault? Okay, look, you have just moved from Nigeria to France to start a new life from zero. You apply for the citizenship, you get rejected the first time. Okay, you apply the second time. During all of this, She has a miscarriage, which is not your fault. You lose your job, bad things happen, you're still looking for a second one. You have a lot on your mind. You have a lot of things to organize and set up. You're busy. You're the one who needs a lot of support, right? If she's a good girl, if she's a woman of value, wouldn't she be by your side? Wouldn't she recognize these things? Wouldn't she be patient with you? Wouldn't she understand that if you are her man, the man she wants to spend her life with, wouldn't she support you? Wouldn't she be nurturing and caring? But instead, there are a few moments where you can't give her attention because you're busy and you have a lot on your plate. So what does she do? She pulls away because her needs aren't met. Don't blame yourself and make out that it's your fault for the loss of attraction. She didn't get what she wanted because she's self-centered. It's nothing to do with you. If she was really right for you, she would have supported you. But again, obviously his story doesn't end here, because as I mentioned at the beginning, he got her pregnant. And yes, she does end up pregnant a second time, in fact. Let's continue then. 2 weeks after moving out, I began chatting to her casually, and she responded well. This continued for 3 days, then she told me she wanted to come to my new house and talk. Well, my question to you is, why are you talking to her in the first place? Why did you even initiate contact? I began chatting to her casually. Why? She dropped you. The moment she saw that there was doubt whether you were going to stay in France or Nigeria, you lost your job, and she felt like you couldn't provide, she cut you off. This lets you know that you were not her first draft pick. Because when a woman views you as an attractive man who's masculine, that she really wants, she'll be with you through thick and thin. But when a girl lowers her standards and she settles for you, you better provide something. A good woman wants your presence, wants your time. Whereas women that are users, narcissistic, gold diggers, or women that are just promiscuous and ran through and they can't pay one anymore, they settle for anything they can get from a man. And because they have lowered their standards so much so, they're not actually looking for that love from a man. They're not looking for a man's presence and to build a life with him. They're just looking for a man to use for their own gain. So this is why, when you can't provide, a woman like this is going to cut you off. And that's exactly what she did. So why the hell are you reaching out to her? Why are you initiating contact after she's tossed you to the side? And that should be enough for you to say good riddance, right? That's really what you should have done. Because right then was a little glimpse. She showed you who she really was. But instead, you're initiating contact. What does that let her know? You were opening the doors for her to come in and give you round two. And you're going to have it now. Carrying on. Monday, May the 10th, 2021, she kept blaming her decision on the miscarriage affecting her and me semi-abandoning her in that period. But also acknowledged that she should have communicated better. Sounds to me like a bit of a fake, wishy-washy apology. Because one moment she's blaming it on the miscarriage affecting her, when we know for a fact that she's saying to you, well, you've lost your application, you've lost your job, right? She wanted you to be free to choose to come back or to stay. There was no mention about the miscarriage. She didn't even mention that when she dumped you. Right, Jimmy? But now she's blaming it on the miscarriage. Cool. And then she's saying that you semi-abandoned her. How did you semi-abandon her? You were filling out your application to stay in France. You lost your job. You're searching for another one. You're busy. You're dealing with your problems. She wasn't supporting you because she didn't care about you. It was all about her. We agreed to try again. Big mistake. 1 month later, on June the 5th, she got pregnant. Again. We were both happy. Another 3 weeks later, on June the 27th, we moved back in. Something kept urging me to look through her phone, which I did. What I saw blew me. Well, gut feelings never lie, do they? There was this guy she had a casual relationship with from April back in 2019 when they met until January of 2020, which is when we met. They had hooked up twice and had sex in those times, but she had to move to look for a more stable one because the guy didn't want to commit to more than that. I wonder why. Because that's all she's offering. Good women that value their purity only give their body to a man in the confines of a relationship when she's built an emotional connection, when she feels safe and comfortable. Women that give their body freely to a man on a one night to a total stranger lets any man know that she's not relationship material, that something is wrong with her. She's not to be trusted with his seed. It's pretty simple. So she had to move to look for a more stable one because that guy didn't want to commit. But then she came across you, a guy who's not going to care about her body count, a guy who's not going to ask her questions about her past, right? A guy who's just happy to have a woman be into him. And this is where you guys need to bring their standards right up and have principles. Because if you want a relationship, you've got to ask these things. You need to know what you're getting involved with. You must protect yourself from women that are undesirable, that are not relationship material. Because some of these hoes fly under the radar and they try and swoop in. They know they're used up. They know they have no value. But they'll try and get in and settle and lock you down. You're not going to have a good relationship with a woman either. Ever. But luckily, Jimmy found the text messages of the simple fact that she was talking to this guy the entire time. The guy has been chatting all through the length of our relationship. So while she went through that miscarriage, you lost your job, you reached out to her again, she said she's sorry. And then you get pregnant, she gets pregnant again, and she's still talking to this guy. She was just using you. She even told him that she was with someone else now and that can't continue seeing him from the day we first met. But this guy kept pushing his chance to see her and asking to have one night stands as they used to do, but she kept turning him down. Jimmy said, even if she had the option of ignoring and blocking him, but she didn't, well, there you go. If she was a good woman, that's all she would have done. She would have deleted, blocked him and told you, I want you to know, before I met you, there was another guy, he was talking to me, and just in case you see the text messages, just to let you know I blocked the guy. That's all she would have said. But she didn't, did she? She kept him as a break glass in case of emergency. Because she's not stable. There's obviously more to it. She clearly has some red flags. But because you didn't ask quality questions about her family, about her background, we don't know. But we can only see from the information you've given us. But it all comes out in the end, doesn't it? If your woman has other men getting close to her, guys, it's not that man's fault, it's hers. She is opening the door to allow men to get close to her. So all your woman has to do is delete and block. Delete and block. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. I found that the weekend just before the Monday she dumped me, she got the guy to commit into a more stable relationship. Lol. Even though the guy sensed at the time that she wanted to end her relationship and told her what she wanted to hear, which the guy agreed to loving her so much and wanting no one else but her. Sure he did. That guy is saying, right, whatever he has to say so he can use her for sex. Because remember, when he first met her, that's all he wanted. She wanted a commitment, he didn't want it, she cuts him off, meets you that same January, starts dating you, rushes into the relationship, basically rebounding to get over him. Yet she kept the lines of communication open with this guy because she really did like him. And it was only when your relationship started to crumble because she thought that you would be unable to provide for her long term. And given the fact that she was talking to this guy the entire time, so he knew her mental state, how vulnerable she was, he took advantage of that, whispered sweet nothings in her ear, and thought, you know what, I'll just tell her that I'll commit in a more stable relationship. So she thought, great. So she dumps you, goes off with him, and there you have it. 4 days after dumping me, they hooked up at her place and had sex. He started distancing from her and she started chasing him, and this continued for 2 weeks, and she kept making attempts for him to even see her or invite her for a drink, but he kept giving one excuse or the other. Obviously he had gotten the pussy and is trying to make it clear that he isn't interested in anything else other than how they started out. Absolutely, that guy was only ever after one thing, which was sex. And he said everything he had to get it from her, and she fell for it. Then it became clear to me that she returned to me because I was her last option. Bingo. In fact, when she told the guy she went back to me, that guy asked why, and her response was, because you didn't give me the impression of wanting me anymore. I didn't end my relationship because of you as you feared. I'm sure you know what this means. She returned because he didn't want her. Exactly, you're getting sloppy seconds. The truth is, she knows she's damaged goods, she's promiscuous, and no quality man wants her, right? Which is why she keeps doing the same thing. That guy, he's not the first one she's hooked up with. She's probably done that multiple times, and to no avail. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And yet no man commits to her. But then you come along and she thinks, right, this guy's clueless. Fine, I'll lower my standards and I'll just give him a chance. But she's still going to be unhappy with you because you're just not in. That's really what was going on here. But she played you. Oh, I want to have a family with you. I'll move in. She even got pregnant by you. Again, all of that within what, a year? You don't know someone in a year. Truly. Again, she rushed it too, because she was doing it out of insecurity, out of fear of being alone, getting older, losing her options, right? I got to secure a man. That's what she was doing. This is not a good quality woman. So just remember, as Jimmy said, she returned because he didn't want her. That's why she came back to you, not because she made a mistake or, oh no, it's my fault, I'm so sorry. No, because you were just the only guy that would take her seriously. And now you don't want to take her so seriously, do you? Now I am devastated. Knowing this and the fact that she's pregnant for me and we live together has put me in a mode I can't explain. I just don't trust her anymore, and now the child issue is confusing me on the right decision. I don't want my child to grow up in a single home, but she has been begging and asking for a chance to prove herself again. Help me. You got 3 options here, Jimmy. Number 1, you could do the dishonorable thing and flee to a different country. You know, the old classic, dad went out to get milk and never came back, which is obviously not the right thing to do because you'd always be looking over your shoulder the rest of your life. The second thing you could do is cut your balls off, give it to her in a bag, marry her and live with her. And each day, week, month and year that goes by, your life expectancy will be cut short, your masculinity will be drained, your energy, your virility, your very will to live will slowly fade away because That's the thing with betrayal. You can forgive, but you'll never forget. You will always know you're nothing but a last option in her eyes. She will have all that power in the relationship. She will walk all over you. She'll probably step out on you, and she will have disdain for you. You will be one of those sexless beta cuck marriages. That's option 2, which also I recommend you don't do. Which leaves option number 3. Do the right thing. When your son or daughter is born, do the best you can to be present in his or her life, but do not marry this woman. Leave. Try and have split custody. Don't live with her, do not marry her, keep her at arm's length and co-parent. That's the best you can hope for. Because this woman is unfortunately going to be in your life. Now, I'm actually against abortion. I think every child deserves a chance at life. And obviously, given the fact that you and her are having a child, you haven't had an abortion, great. That child still deserves a chance. Okay, fair enough. Be present in his or her life to the best of your ability, but keep her at arm's length. That's it. That's really the best you can hope for. Never let her try and come back in and please marry me, please commit to me. We pull thee, but you're the father of our son or daughter card. Don't let her do that. Because this woman was never relationship material and she never wanted that son or daughter for the right reason. You did. Never forget that. You wanted a family. You actually desired that. And obviously you're not going to commit to this woman. But the best you can hope for is be present in your son or your daughter's life to the best of your ability and just keep that woman at arm's length. That's all you can hope for. That's it. That's what I would do if I was in your situation. So to carry on, Jimmy actually sent me a follow-up email where he gave me the verdict, his final decision on what he has decided to do with his cheating partner who's pregnant. And also he gave me a little bit more background information on what went down. Let's go through it. Dear Christian, what you have said is the truth. In fact, what I sent you was summarized. In this one, let me give you some depth into the type of interaction between her and that guy so you get the real picture of this lady and how I view her. So he sends me a few text messages that he found, because remember, he walked in one day, picked up a phone because he had a bad gut feeling, and he discovered everything that was going on. And he just scrolled back to the text messages from the day she originally dumped him. And I'm going to keep it very short. I'm actually not going to read through it all because some of the things get very explicit. And I'm not going to say that on here. But basically, in short, she tells this guy that she's planning on dumping him and that she can't wait to be with him. And then their conversation starts to get very sexual. He starts asking her to do different sexual things for her. And of course she agrees because she wants the commitment from him. And of course he just wants to get his needs met. And then carrying on, Jimmy's basically says, this was the first week's conversation. It really showed me that one man's love can be another man's bitch. I can never speak to her in this manner, yet here is another man talking to her like this, and she enjoys every bit of it. I'm convinced she loved this guy more than me, and remaining with her will only hurt me in the future. Because all she wanted was to just have the kid and a security. He said, she said that she had always wanted a kid since we met, because she's 37. Well, there you go. She's 37. What was she doing from age 18 to 37? Because if she's pretty now and gets attention, she got way more back then. You're telling me from through her late teens through to her 20s, the most fertile years of her life where she's at the peak of her beauty, she couldn't find herself a good man? She just didn't want one. She was out there sleeping around. Not every woman does that, of course, but a woman like this is a clear indicator. Why is she single and unmarried? Because no one wants her. That's why she's still on the shelf. And obviously, as she gets older and her fertility fades away, her body clock starts ticking, she's got a limited amount of years left to where she can get pregnant. And yes, some women can have children in their late 30s, even in their early 40s in some rare cases. which is why she was so quick to lock you down and get pregnant, because she knew if she didn't find a good man to have one with, she's probably never going to be able to have children. So she did it out of desperation and neediness, not out of love for you, and wanting you to really be the father of her son or daughter. So there you have it. So he said, I'm convinced this is the reason why she kept running back to me, because I was the one who was ready for a family. There you go. He said, I will leave her. Smart choice. Thank goodness I've been granted status in France as a permanent resident, which means I'm automatically on my way to becoming a French citizen. I'll be given a new house and funds to assist me till I secure a 10-hour-a-day paying job. He said, now we still live together. She thinks I'm all in, but once the government gives me the house, I will furnish it. Tell her I can't be with her anymore because I don't trust a future with her. Well said. Move out and plan how the child funding and sharing will be. Smart man. I've learned a great deal from this. I have feelings for her still, but I would rather die with this feeling than risk continuing with her because my gut keeps telling me that she still has strong feelings for this guy. After I asked her why she didn't block him, even after she dumped me and tried with him, and saw that he was only interested in having sex with her, her response was, I don't know. When someone says they don't know, they just don't want to tell you. He said, when a woman says I don't know, she knows but won't say. The answer is obvious. She wants to repeat what she did the first time. Keep him as a plan B and see how things go between us. When a woman is in love, she eliminates all other backups. Someone's been paying attention to my videos. Well said. Look, what do faithful men do? We don't keep backups. What do faithful women do? They don't keep backups. That's it. That's it. Emotionally damaged men and women, narcissists, people that have low self-esteem, yes, they are prone to cheat and keep backups because they are emotionally unstable and they have poor values. Note that it was 2 months after she told him she was going back to me, and the same time we came back together, that I found out about what she did. What a coincidence. I mean, she left the little clues there for you, but eventually you figured it out. And you're lucky you did. Considering what you've been through, look, you got her pregnant. There's nothing you can do about that now. However, you could have actually married her. You could have found those texts a year from now, 2 years from now. Then what? Then you'd have to go through a divorce. That'd be worse, wouldn't it? So let's be positive, yeah? 2 months after, and his number still wasn't blocked or deleted. She didn't learn from the experience with him, but would rather leave the line of communication open. I can see you're definitely learning now, Jimmy. Well done. You can see it now for what it is. If I marry her, once she stops feeling happy, she will go right back to him. And this time, she will feel much easier doing that, because after all, she has a kid now to remove the pressure of being all alone. Her mother was a single mother, so it won't matter to her to be one too. Ooh, now that right there is some harsh truth. As the old saying goes, like father like son, in this case, like mother like daughter. Very true statement. And again, these are things you want to ask when you meet a woman. Tell me about your background. Tell me about your family. If she has unresolved childhood trauma, if she came from a dysfunctional home and didn't recover from that or move past that, do not go any further. If she has a promiscuous past and openly tells you or doesn't, which means she is promiscuous because she's not telling you, disqualify her. She's not feminine, disqualify her. She's rushing into a relationship, disqualify her. Abusive or disrespectful continuously, disqualify her. For you men watching, it is so simple when you understand that the only thing you got to do is take your foot off the gas, slow it down, observe, put your principles and your standards above your lust and your emotions, and look at her actions to see if it matches up with her words. If she's not up to what your standard is for a woman, don't go any further. Look at this. Rushing in, moving in right away, talking about having a family, and guess what? Look at the consequences. Look at the end result. Now, I think no man wants to go through something like that. And you can avoid that. Men need to take control of their lust. Self-control will always transform a boy into a man. It doesn't matter the age. Some of you men are in your 30s, 40s and 50s and you act like you're 10. You act like you're a horny 14-year-old who's first discovered what jerking off is. That's no way to live. And then you make mistakes like this, and then what? You can't blame it all on the woman. You're responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. Because when you all know when something is a red flag. You can always feel something's off. Look at that, 37 years old. The mother was a single mum. Well, why? There's exceptions, right? Maybe she's a widow. Maybe the husband was abusive and the mother had to walk away. But generally speaking, there's very few exceptions where the father's a deadbeat. Very few. In most cases, the dad leaves because the mother's unbearable. Because look at this situation. What's his ex going to say to the next guy? The reason why she's a single mum. Oh, what, the dad was a scumbag that didn't want to commit to her? No. You think she's going to be honest and tell the next guy that she was cheating on the father of her son or daughter and that's why the guy left? No, she's not going to say that because she's going to do the pity. Oh, the guy left me because he didn't commit to me. He wasn't a good man. And I'll tell you what, there is going to be some other man who's going to look at her, who's got no standards for himself, who's got no self-respect, who's going to go in and be like, wow, I'm going to save this single mother from her terrible life. Not knowing that she's the one that, in this case, did it herself. And then he's going to be cucked in that relationship because she's still going to step out on that guy. Because she lost her ability to pair bond many, many years ago. I mean, she couldn't even pair bond with Jimmy. And he is the father of her soon-to-be child. Guys, if you are not the first, you are the last. Do not date, commit, or marry women that have slept around. Even more than just 2 to 3, 4 partners. They lose the ability to form that long-term connection with a man. And this is what you see. So Jimmy finishes off and says, she will continue the sexual relationship with him and I become the one paying with my money for child support. Well, you're not going to marry her. You're not going to live with her. And think of it like this. The child support isn't really going for her, even though she may use it or not. It's going for your son or daughter. But you've made the right decision and you're going to leave that relationship. And you can start fresh and live your life to the best of your ability. But never ever make that mistake again. And for all you men watching, especially you young guys like me, something like this should scare you. Take your relationship seriously, or you will be forced to take it seriously under circumstances that you did not want. As I said at the beginning of the video, and I'll mention it once more at the end, you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. It's that simple. And men, there are plenty of good girls out there, traditional, feminine, virtuous, pure, that don't sleep around, that don't do hookups, that have been ran through by different men, that have done the work on themselves to actually be feminine in today's world, that they don't associate with these modern women and feminists. They live a modest life. But again, you need to be that same type of man as well. You also need to live a modest life. You need to be masculine. You need to be traditional. Okay, you need to have self-control. You need to have high standards. Or else you won't even want to look for a woman like that. Because what a lot of you guys do is you meet a woman, you look in through your eyes and think, wow, she's pretty, she's beautiful. But guess what? Her looks won't be raising your kids. Her character and her values or lack thereof will be. And that's it. And if you stop making stupid choices with women and you filter out the bad ones, then you'll be left with the good ones. And those are the ones you can consider committing to if you're ready and you want to. That's all I got to say on that one. So if you men don't want to go through a situation like this, pay attention to the red flags. So with that said, hope you all enjoyed the video. And if you would like to share your story, just how Jimmy did, by all means, shoot me an email. It will be down in the description. And if you can't find it, it is on the About tab on the YouTube channel. And if you enjoy the content, feel free to share it with friends and family or anyone who may benefit from my work. And with that said, hope you all have a lovely day. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.